The sun was hitting the dust motes in the attic just the way it did back in the summer of 1994. I was up there looking for a vintage lace tablecloth for Sarah's anniversary dinner. Sarah, my dependable, quiet, and perfect daughter. She has always been the rock of this family, the one who stayed close to home while her brothers chased careers in Seattle and Chicago. I pulled out an old blue hatbox, the one that belonged to my mother, tucked behind a stack of National Geographic magazines. I expected to find old sewing patterns or perhaps some dried pressed flowers from a high school prom. Instead, I found a bundle of letters tied with a simple yellow hair ribbon. The handwriting on the envelope wasn't Sarah's. It was bold, masculine, and dated exactly 30 years ago. As I sat there on the cold wooden floor, the silence of the house felt heavier than usual. I opened the first letter and my heart began a slow, rhythmic thud against my ribs. The letters were from a man named Julian, a name I had never heard spoken in our kitchen or at our Thanksgiving table. He wrote about a small cafe in Vermont, a place where they met during Sarah's senior year of college. He wrote about the plans they made to see the world together. He wrote about a choice she had to make. And then I reached the letter dated 2 weeks before Sarah moved back home after graduation. The letter where he begged her to tell me the truth. 30 years ago, my husband, Sarah's father, was struggling through his first major heart scare. The house was a place of hushed voices, pill organizers, and the constant fear of a ringing telephone. I remember Sarah coming home that June. She walked through the door with a suitcase and a smile that I now realize was a mask. She told me she had decided to stay in town because she missed the local library and wanted to save money for a master's degree. I was so relieved to have her help, so desperate for a companion during those long nights of nursing her father, that I never questioned her. I never noticed the light had gone out of her eyes. I was too busy counting out heart medication and worrying about the mortgage to see that my daughter was mourning a life she had just surrendered. Julian's letters stopped in August of that year. His final note was short, stained with what looked like dried rainwater or perhaps tears. He told her he understood why she couldn't leave her mother alone in a collapsing house. He told her that her devotion was a beautiful, tragic thing. He promised he would never call or write again so that she could find peace in her decision. 30 years of Sunday brunches, 30 years of holiday photos and neighborhood walks, and not once did she ever mention the man she loved or the plane ticket she never used. I looked down at my hands, spotted with age, and felt a wave of profound guilt wash over me. We think we know our children because we know their favorite foods and their birthday wishes. We think we are close because we talk on the phone every Tuesday afternoon. But Sarah had lived an entire parallel life in her mind, a life she sacrificed so I wouldn't have to be lonely. She chose to be my caregiver, my confidant, and my neighbor, all while carrying the weight of a silent what if. She watched me grow old, she helped me bury her father, and she never once made me feel like I was a burden. But I was. The secret wasn't a crime. The secret was the depth of her own selflessness. I heard the garage door open, the familiar rumble of Sarah's SUV. She was coming over with groceries and the local newspaper, just like she does every Friday. I tucked the blue hat box back into the shadows of the attic. My first instinct was to run down the stairs and scream, "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you leave?" but I stopped at the top of the stairs and took a breath of the dusty air. If I tell her I know, I take away the dignity of her sacrifice. If I confront her, I make her choice about me all over again. Instead, I walked down to the kitchen and watched her unpack the lemons and the sourdough bread. I looked at her graying hair and the kind lines around her eyes. "You look like you've seen a ghost, Mom," she said, giving me that easy, practiced smile. "Just cleaning the attic," I replied, my voice remarkably steady. I reached out and squeezed her hand, feeling the strength in her fingers. "Sarah," I said, "I was just thinking about how lucky I am that you stayed." She paused, a lemon held mid-air, and for a split second something flickered in her expression. A shadow of the girl from 1994, perhaps. "I'm the lucky one, Mom," she said softly, turning back to the counter. I realized then that some secrets are kept not to deceive, but to protect the people we love from the pain of knowing what was lost. Tonight, when she goes home to her own quiet house, I will sit on the porch and look at the stars. I will think about Julian in Vermont, and I will hope he found a life as full as the one he offered her. I will realize that my daughter isn't just my perfect girl, she is a woman of immense, quiet courage. I cannot give her back 1994, but I can give her the one thing she worked 30 years to maintain. I can give her the peace of knowing that I am happy, even if I now know the price she paid for it. We all live in the rooms created by the choices we made decades ago, and I will spend the rest of my days making sure that her room is filled with light.